was the playing hall for a second. That would have been another
I thought so at first, and then realized it was pretty close to my own ears. But we are all good over here, and it's good to see that we're keeping the fires on the board here.
Oh yeah, I mean, we have such a dynamic position here. If these players are taking their time, they're not playing as quickly as that game, round 3, Indich versus Sarin. Here the players are under 5 minutes, and there's queens, minor pieces on the board. Kings aren't fully safe. There's weak squares around both kings. F6 for black is a bit soft. And again, the double F pawns mean that white has some structural defects on the king side. When time trouble hits, this could get wild, because it's not very easy for this to just go into some balanced endgame. As long as the queens are on, maybe white uses the G file, put pressure on black. Maybe black keeps the knight on the board, as we just saw there, and tries to maneuver the knights in a way that harasses white's F4 pawn or H2 pawn. Maybe F6 at the right moment. But the position is going to blow up very soon. There's too many pieces on the board, and both these players are sharp players. They thrive in complications, they welcome it, and that's why we haven't seen so many, too many exchanges. And we see, a lot of maneuvering going on, keeping the tension by not trading. Nihal's being annoying with that queen on H4. Nihal, we're down a pawn now as black. But as long as there's a lot of pieces on the board, you can be up a pawn, but you get under a minute, you're just worried about flagging. And we've seen that happen in games before where at a certain point, pendulum swings to time being the biggest factor in the game more than material. So if I'm playing white here, I do want to trade off. I'm up a pawn. It's a passed B pawn. I would probably be able to have a 2-result type of situation where I'm pushing and I don't have many losing chances, but I need some trades for that. And this is a big move. I'm on knight e4, hitting the bishop, and now preparing queen g3. Queen g3 or queen h3 forces the queens off because the queen can't go to h5 because of knight f6 check. So all of a sudden, knight f6 check is a big threat, and maybe you don't even trade queens, but if you get the knight to f6, all of a sudden black's king might be in trouble. Maybe knight f6 check and, I don't know, queen h3. Where does this bishop on c5 go? Does it go to a7? It goes to a7. I mean, maybe there's rook b7. There's something tactically wrong with this position for Nihal. That his knights are on g7 and e7, and in this exact specific moment, white has all the cards. Knight f6, knight c5, rook b7. Then rook on b3 also supports queen h3. This is an interesting moment. Rook d4, a counterpunch. And can Yakubboev find more ways to continue the initiative? That's a professional move. Bishop e2 doesn't spend too much time. Says, I don't want the complications yet. I want to keep the material on the board because I still have the same threats I had the move before. And that Nihal sacks the exchange. So now white is up an exchange and a pawn. Objectively, Yakubboev is winning here. But objectively is not the main factor here. Just time, no increment here, lots of pieces, until we get to an end game where it's really more a matter of technique. Nihal can still, he's a very resourceful guy, and still complicate things. But I gotta say, white's position is looking lovely. Maybe the bishop goes to d3. The one piece I'm not happy about is the bishop on c1, but it's doing its job defending the pawn on f4. So while I try to figure out how to move that, I'm going to develop my other pieces. So the bishop improves itself. It goes to e4. Maybe the rook on f1 slides to g1. But because of the semi-closed nature of the position, it takes more work for white to initiate trades. And you want to initiate trades where you have the exchange of the pawn. You want to mitigate the risk, but not easy. And Nihal's up a little bit of time, 10, 15 seconds. It could swing any move, but it's good to be up on time. When you're down in material, try to use the clock as another variable to improve your position. We see some moves repeating. I don't think white is trying to make a draw. Nihal with king g7. Tactical shot. Don't take the free rook because of queen f1 checkmate. Uh-oh. 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 h5. How do you defend the rook on d1? Nihal. Yes, his queen is coming in though. Things are getting very tricky here. Queen g1 is not a move you want to make. There's bishop takes f2. There's queen e2. All of a sudden, white's king is looking very fragile on h1, and the tactical shots are coming in. Can Nihal continue it? He's picked up a pawn. He's broken some of white's protection in front of the king, but white's holding on. The rook is defended. The queen is defended. The king on h1. Fortunately, there's a bishop on e4 protecting that diagonal, and now it's anybody's game. Nihal would love to continue the fight. That probably means you trade the rooks off and keep the queen on the board, but he's looking for more. He's looking, is there a move like queen a4? Hitting the rook on d1, hitting the bishop on e4, sacrificing. Nodirbek. Queen e1. You might be looking at bishop g3 just to be a bit tricky. 40 seconds for Nihal, but he's got a tricky knight. He's down the exchange, but his king is safer. And the exchange is not very easy to play when your king is in the open. But what I want to do is white, I want to push my b pawn, but that queen on b1 is blocking me. Back to f4, queen to b4, or knight here. Oh, 30 seconds though. Nodirbek is playing up material and up on the clock. So that's very smart because his position is harder to play. Okay. Decides to give up the exchange. And Nihal with 23 seconds isn't going to decline that. But at one moment, that game broke open, and it was a bit fortunate, I think, for white to hold on. He missed some tactical shots. As I said,